3.5 million new jobs, 4.3 million fewer Americans on food stamps, 4 million Americans lifted out of poverty. On the manufacturing front, Obama said these jobs are never coming back. 400,000 new jobs. Unemployment claims are at a 49-year low. In just 2 years, we are seeing record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, historic unemployment for women in the workplace. These are all records. And for military veterans and for youth unemployment. Median household income is now hitting record highs. 4.2% GDP growth in the second quarter, 3.5% in the most recent quarter. And this all comes as President Trump slashed regulations, promises made, promises kept. It comes after he signed the single biggest middle class tax cut in American history. A promise made, a promise kept. He opened up American energy. Now literally, we're on a path towards energy independence. Greenlighting the drilling in ANWR, the Keystone Pipeline, the Dakota Access Pipeline. A promise made, a promise kept. Negotiating new trade deals in Europe, renegotiating NAFTA, pulled us out of the job-killing Paris Accord. Promises made, promises kept in 2 short years. He's led with peace through strength abroad. He has pulled us out of the one-sided, ridiculous insanity of the nuclear deal. We are no longer dropping cargo planes of cash on a tarmac for radical mullahs that chant death to America. Addressing the looming crisis in North Korea. Keeping the promise so many other presidents made, he's the only one to keep. This promise of moving the embassy in Jerusalem, in Israel to Jerusalem. Promises made, promises kept. And despite being out of office for 2 years, this is the joke of all jokes. Watching Obama this weekend, Obama with the worst record of any president in modern history, which I will point out, he's now trying to take credit for Trump's success. Watch this.
So when you hear all this talk about economic miracles right now, remember who started it. Remember who started it.
Let's remind you, the voters, what his actual record is, because it's humiliating and it's embarrassing. 8 years of Obama, 13 million more Americans were on food stamps. 8 million more Americans in poverty. The lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. The worst recovery since the 40s. The lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. Get this. He was the only president in U.S. history never to experience 3% GDP growth in a single year of his presidency. Oh, and the guy that claimed $9 trillion in debt? Oh, that's irresponsible and unpatriotic. In 8 years of Obama, he took on more debt than every other president before him combined. That was 2 years ago. Today, President Trump has been making a final pitch to voters in an op-ed on Fox News. And the message is clear. If you want more safety and security and prosperity for the American people from all walks of life, this is about continuing the progress, voting Republican. The Democrats, we know they have no plan to make your life better, safer, more prosperous. 8 years under Obama was a disaster. So instead, what have we been witnessing? Democrats have some pretty extreme ulterior motives. I have been sounding the alarm about this for months right here on this show. When Democrats tell you what their plans are, believe them. Maxine Waters, she keeps saying, impeach 45, impeach 45, reclaiming my time. And by the way, our fellow Democrats keep saying, Maxine, just don't tell them. We'll do it, but just don't tell them. Keep quiet. Keep it a secret. Remember this.
I'm in this fight.
Yeah.
I'm in this fight and I'm not going to move. And as you know, there's a difference in how some of our leadership talk about how we should handle all of this. They say, Maxine, please don't say impeachment anymore. And when they say that, I say impeachment, 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 impeachment.
Now that's coming from a congresswoman who will likely chair a very powerful House committee if the Democrats regain power. And by the way, she, Adam Schiff, the liar Schiff, oh, they're bragging about their plans to initiate endless House investigations into so-called Russia collusion. We've had 2 years of this nonsense. The chair of the all-powerful Intel Committee. Watch the liar, Schiff. Take a look.
While the Republicans walked away from the investigation, the Democratic minority has continued, and we've been bringing witnesses in, and we've been learning more. And that work won't stop when we take the majority, but we will be able to get answers the Republicans were unwilling to pursue. Records that the Republicans wouldn't ask for. The question, though, that I don't know whether Mueller has been able to answer, because I don't know whether he's been given the license to look into it, is were the Russians laundering money through the Trump Organization? And that will be a very high priority to get an answer to, for the reason that if they were doing this, it's not only a crime, but it's something provable, something that the Russians could hold over the head of the President of the United States.
Never ends. It's the same. It's like on a rewind. Never ends. A loop. Democrats, what do they want? They want endless investigations into a farce. They don't want to investigate Hillary, the one that paid for phony Russian lies that led to, lying to FISA court judges and committing, obviously a fraud on the court. And then leaking that information so they can get a special counsel. They don't care about that. They only care about, if it involves President Trump. They want to impeach, investigate the president. And if you want to vote for Democrats tomorrow, you're voting to raise your taxes. Remember Nancy Pelosi, largest tax cut in American history. Literally 90% of working Americans benefit. And you saw what they were willing to do to Justice Kavanaugh. You want higher taxes? You want the lies said about a man that was literally smeared and slandered and besmirched with no due process, no presumption of innocence? They will block all judicial appointments. And by the way, remember the great promise? Keep your doctor, keep your plan, and pay less? What a lie. It's the biggest lie ever told by any one party. And now they're literally trying to campaign on that lie. They want to preserve Obamacare forever. That's what's at stake tomorrow. They want to bring back the mandate tax that President Trump and the Republicans killed. They couldn't care less if your premiums continue to skyrocket. For them, it's about power. Look at the issue of immigration. They're told by the Center for American Progress, don't talk about it. Change the topic, but we know what they want. Open borders, sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, to abolish ICE. And once again, they are hiding their agenda from the American people. Center for American Progress, the think tank of John Podesta, just change the topic as quickly as you possibly can. And by the way, Democrats, they're literally listening because their radical positions are so unpopular, they can't even run on what they truly believe. That's the modern Democratic Party. This is your choice tonight. Is this what you want? Because that's the agenda of Nancy Pelosi. That's the agenda of Chuck Schumer. You vote for any House Democrat, you're voting for Pelosi. You vote for any Senate Democrat, you are voting for Chuck Schumer. Everything at this hour tonight is up for grabs. But the good news is you have the power. Tonight, we are working on 3 different scenarios, just so you know. Scenario 1, Republicans maintain the majority in the House, gain seats in the Senate, and guess what? That's a huge win. Republican option number 2, it's a split decision. That would be Republicans losing the House, gaining seats in the Senate. Worst case scenario, which, we'll let the fake news guys over there talk about, would be Republicans losing the House and Senate. That would mean Wednesday morning you hear Speaker-elect Pelosi, Senate Majority-elect Chuck Schumer. In the House, there's literally about 36 toss-ups that will decide whether or not Nancy Pelosi gets that gavel back. Now, these are incredibly close, important races. Look at them on your screen. We also have them on Hannity.com. Literally, states like California, Minnesota, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, everywhere in between. All 435 seats matter. Historically, a sitting president almost always sees losses in the House. Look at this number. In 2010, the first midterm of Barack Hussein Obama, Democrats lost 63 seats. But he was elected 2 years later. 1994, Bill Clinton, Democrats lost 54 seats, and for the first time in 40 years, leading the way by Newt Gingrich, the Republicans took back the House of Representatives. Both of them, Obama and Clinton, 2 years after those disastrous midterms, went on to win re-election. 2 years later. Over in the Senate, we are watching a handful of very close races that will determine whether or not Chuck Schumer becomes the majority leader. Right here, where we are tonight in Missouri, we are right now, Republican Josh Hawley, who will join us, is polling well. He's up against liberal, radical, leftist, incumbent Claire Claire McCaskill, far-left senator who's trying to convince the good people of Missouri that she's a moderate. We know that's not true. Don't forget, she voted against Kavanaugh. She voted against Neil Gorsuch. She voted against the tax cuts for the people of Missouri. Her campaign caught on tape literally supporting widespread gun restrictions and gun bans. But she's not telling the people of Missouri that. Arizona, I can't even believe we're talking about this race. Republican, American hero, Martha McSally, multiple tours of duty, 6 in Iraq and Afghanistan, 28 years of service. While McSally was serving her country abroad, her opponent, radical, leftist, Democrat Kristen Sinema, organizing events with the radical, since indicted lawyer for the blind sheikh, leading anti-war protests in a pink tutu with a group of witches, and I'm not making that up. She was making the case for, it's okay if Americans want to fight with the Taliban. And as this weekend, she stood by that stupidity. Those are our enemies. And she called Arizonans crazy, the meth lab of democracy. But they're only crazy in a Lindsay Lohan way. We go to the state of Indiana. Toss-up tonight between Mike Braun and Democrat incumbent. Well, Schumer wannabe disciple Joe Donnelly. According to reports, Donnelly has funded shadow efforts to fund ads for the third-party libertarian in that race. He can't win without the libertarian in that race. Dirty politics at its worst. And one more reminder, by the way, that a vote for a libertarian in Indiana is a vote for Donnelly and Schumer. In Montana, this is a state that is now in play. Republican Matt Rosendale gaining ground against Schumer, Democratic incumbent John Tester. In the latest poll, Tester down by 3. 50% of the state voted. It will all depend on turnout tomorrow. Remember, people in Montana, Tester voted with Schumer 87% of the time. You might as well have Schumer. In Tennessee, a very important race. Republican Senate candidate Marsha Blackburn should win. You're in Tennessee tonight, take nothing for granted. Anything can happen. In Nevada, races are always close. Republican Senator Dean Heller in a must-hold seat for the Republicans. And we're going to have an actual race on our hands in West Virginia. That's news tonight. Between incumbent Democrat Joe Manchin, Republican Patrick Morrisey. And in Florida, let me just be blunt. Everything in Florida is, as usual, too close to call. Democratic do-nothing Schumer Democrat Bill Nelson against the Florida Governor Rick Scott, who has been there again and again for the people of Florida. In Florida, the gubernatorial race also so tight between Ron DeSantis and corrupt socialists. By the way, wouldn't it be great if we could get from an FBI, investigator, free tickets to Hamilton and free vacations like Gillum and the worst crime rate in all of Florida? Republicans, by the way, you guys like Elton John? Just checking. We need a massive turnout. It's all about turnout tomorrow. That's all it is. We'll get the government we deserve. We're keeping our eyes also on a potential shocker of all places, believe it or not, in New Jersey. Polls between corruption-plagued Democrat Bob Menendez, Republican Bob Hugin, Marine, Semper Fi, Bob. Well, guess what? Closer than anybody predicted. And in the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz has maintained a steady lead against Bozo O'Rourke, even though this Democrat has literally almost gotten $100 million to throw at the greatest constitutionalist in the U.S. Senate. Texas, don't let somebody that doesn't have Texas values win Texas. Ted Cruz needs to be back in the U.S. Senate. Tomorrow's vote will be crucial. Democrats across the country benefited. I'm looking right over there. All over there, fake news. The mainstream media, the biggest donors to the Democratic Party, they speak with one voice at this point and saying the most hateful, disgusting, despicable, anti-Trump vitriol that this country, frankly, has ever seen. They have been worse than ever, and we've got the tape to prove it. Take a look.
If Trump wins, he will cast it as a complete endorsement of his most undemocratic behavior. If you're 18 and that happens, you stand a very real chance of not living in a Western-style democracy for part or all of your life.
He is a racist pig.
He is talking about white supremacist ideology. We are not only on we're not on a dangerous, slippery slope, we've fallen.
If you had a kid that had A's and B's on their report card, doing well with their trumpet lessons, but also happened to be selling meth out of the basement, you would say, hold on a second. I can't just talk about the good stuff. I've got a problem with this kid.
Racism, xenophobia, all these things that I thought were already stigmatized, but Donald Trump has brought them out of the closet, brought them out into the open. He's using them for his political advantage.
What Donald Trump did was normalize racism. He